The following program is sponsored by Adams Financial Concepts. Welcome to About Money, a different approach to investing you won't hear anywhere else. Your host, Mike Adams, is a registered investment advisor and works with investment portfolios exceeding over $100,000 in net worth and has a proven track record of managing long-term investments, surpassing the markets in the long term. The information shared in the following program is for educational purposes only, and any investment advice given may not be suitable for all investors. And now, here's Mike.
And we are at the Money Show. It's here. It began this morning, and the exhibit hall will open in less than 45 minutes. The exhibit hall is going to be open from 12:45 until 7 o'clock tonight. So do come down and see us. You'll get to see Sarah, our administrative manager, Mitch Adams, my son, who will be joining Adams Financial Concepts, has joined Adams Financial Concepts. He'll be working the booth as well. So you get to see all three of us. Shane Hoover will not be there. Shane works the 401k market, and so he will not be at the show, but everyone else will. Well, Pamela won't be there either, but 3 of the 5 of us will be there, so that's not bad, 60%. Come on down, see us today. We'll be there all day tomorrow. You can register when you get here. The show's free, completely free. And the breadth and the depth of this show, in my opinion, is deeper than any other money show I've been to. I've been going to the money show in Las Vegas and San Francisco for 5 or 6 years. I actually did a presentation. I was asked to do a presentation in Orlando. I did a presentation in Las Vegas. Both of those shows and the ones I've done in the past in have attended in Las Vegas and San Francisco. All those shows do not have the breadth and the depth that this one has. And while I'm not recommending any workshops other than mine, I believe you should come and hear what I have to say, of course. How could I not say that? But you're going to hear a number of people. Ralph Alcampora, who was my guest on the radio show last week, he will be giving the keynote speech. He is about to give the keynote speech for he gave the keynote speech this morning. It's Steve Forbes, who is on the dais right now, talking about what's going on. He's speaking about why the stock market will boom. I've been saying that now since 2009. The stock market isn't a time period when it's going to continue to roll along. And we reach the same conclusions, different reasons. So you could hear what he has to say. You'll probably miss it if you're not on your way here or not here already. But there's a lot of sessions coming up, and it's not just on stocks. The depth and the breadth is enormous. There's going to be sessions on real estate, commercial real estate, and REITs, as well as agriculture. There are sessions on U.S. agriculture, investing in U.S. agriculture, and investing in real estate in Paraguay, agriculture in Paraguay. Paraguay's GDP is growing at over 5% a year. You can hear about what's going on in Paraguay and have the opportunity to invest if you so choose to do so. Travel. When you have a disruption in any industry, there always tends to be some opportunity for investment. And that's going to be true. The disruption in travel continues. You're going to hear about travel. And, of course, it's not going to be travel agents on every corner in the mall, but you're going to hear about some insights into travel. I have not been to those workshops. I haven't been to the ones on agriculture. I haven't been to the ones on real estate. I haven't been to the one on travel. But they all sound pretty fascinating. As long as they're not in conflict with mine, that's okay. Going to hear about desalinization of water. Water has been one of those subjects that's been talked about for a couple decades. And people are actually desalinating water, and you can invest in that if you so choose. You're going to have a session on gold and investing in gold and what's happening in the gold market. If you've been listening to my radio program, you know my thoughts on gold, that it was overpriced. I believe that it's an inflation hedge and may have some reason to own it if you come to my session this afternoon. I There's going to be a session on precious metals. There's going to be one on cryptocurrencies. I have not seen any other session at any of the programs I've been to on cryptocurrencies. So that's going to be fascinating if you want to hear about cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, and all the others. A lot of splash about those. And, it's worth knowing something about, even if you don't invest. And of course, probably the hottest topic is going to be cannabis. There's a few people that are presented on cannabis. There's a few companies that are cannabis companies that are here. Options, of course, at the Money Show are always a big portion of the show. Trading options themselves, using options to protect portfolio risk. I'm not a good options trader. I've said on many occasions that I feel that options are chocolate covered hand grenades. They sound so good. They look so good. They don't melt in your mouth. They don't melt in your hand. They blow up. But that's been my experience. I've never known, by the way, an options trader who has made money over the long term. That's just making money over the long term. And I'm sure there have been. I have never known anyone that's done really, really well. And I've never talked to somebody that's done really, really well, except for those who are selling their books and those who are selling their programs and those people who will tell you how they're doing. It wasn't that many years ago that there was an options trader in Seattle, presented things. He had gotten out of prison because he did a real estate scam and he was doing an option scan. I actually lost a client to him. This goes way back to the early 90s because he was claiming returns of 26% per month. 26% per month. I think that he's now still serving his prison term. Anyway, I diverted and got distracted on the options. It's interesting to hear what they say. Take it with a grain of salt. There's going to be a session on futures. Again, just like options. I was once licensed as a futures broker. I got my Series 3, which is the exam you have to pass to trade commodities and trade futures. It's interesting, but the whole system, and I'm a mathematician, you have one broker after another, commodities broker, futures broker, that are doing all these plots and charts and stochastics and whatever. I've never seen anybody that did very well for a long time. But, you should come here. There's a lot of that's going on. There are trillions of dollars of futures contracts that are trading, futures and commodities. There are also going to be a couple pre-IPO companies. I believe there's 3. I believe there's 2 in the biotech space and 1 non-biotech. And over the years, I've talked about bioengineering. It's something that's worth looking at, thinking about, and whether you do the investment or not, that's up to you. I believe, and I've said before, that the 19th century was the century of chemistry with oil and steel and aluminum. The 20th century, the century that just finished, was the century of physics. That's electronics, it's flight, it's the internal combustion engine. It's electronics, the media, the radio, the TV, the movies, the internet, all that was the century of physics. The 21st century is probably going to be the century of biology. And biotechnology is just one small portion. We've got a lot more to see in terms of what they're doing with bioengineering. There's a couple of professors at Penn State, for example, that have taken a cylinder and they put an anode at one end, a cathode at the other end. They put wastewater inside and they've re-engineered the E. coli bacteria. They put E. coli bacteria into wastewater, and as bacteria grow, bacteria give off electric electricity, so that they're gathering electricity as bacteria clean the wastewater and make clean wastewater. Now, the economics of that, I have no idea. I'm sure that at this point, the economics aren't there, but the concept is a very, very interesting concept, especially when you think there's a session on desalination of water. Think of what it is to bacteriarize water. Anyway, that's not a presentation at this show. I just threw that in. Bonds and income. There'll be a session on dividends. There'll be a session or two on bonds. Interesting people. I've heard a couple of their presentations. Very interesting. I've actually followed some of their advice at times. Anyway, mutual funds. Janet Brown will be there. Fund X. I've discussed her research. Diversification. There's a program on diversification. And you know that I don't diversify with my portfolios. But you might as well hear the other side. It might be interesting to hear. And then, of course, there are many sessions on stocks. My passion is to create wealth using stocks. But you'll have the Hirsch from Stock Traders Almanac. I think it's the son or grandson.
30 seconds.
And there's more to talk about. I'll be coming back to this right after this commercial break. Don't go away. We're here at the Money Show. Lots going on. Come down, register, come hear some of the sessions, especially mine. I'll be right back.
More about money coming up with Mike Adams on AM 1590, The Answer. For more information, click on adamsfinancialconcepts.com. About Money continues. Remember the website, adamsfinancialconcepts.com. Here's Mike.
So we're here at the Money Show. The exhibit hall will open in half an hour. Sessions are already going. The main sessions, the general sessions, are coming to an end soon. When the exhibit hall opens, they'll do the breakout sessions. So do come down, do register. It's free. All you have to do is come in. We're at the Hyatt Regency on Howard Street. So come down, see what's going on. I've been talking about some of the sessions that are coming up and that you can come see. Talked about everything but the stock sessions. We'll be talking about those as well. My emphasis, along with bonds. Jim Stack, who's been on the Money Show for 35 years, he's going to be here. He is here doing a couple sessions. His focus primarily is on bear markets. So you want to hear. There's other sessions that are on defensive stocks, people that feel that the market may not be doing well. Which brings me to mention just quickly my sessions. My first session is going to be on how will the secular bull market end. If you've been listening to the program a long time, it's not going to be new news to you, but I'm not a believer that the probability is high that we're going to end up in a Great Recession or Great Depression. I think high inflation, but I'll be talking more about that and why I believe that with more detail when my session comes up later this afternoon. So, but that's defensive stocks. There's going to be a session on global stocks and investing in global stocks. There's a session on biotech stocks. And when you come, you're going to find two approaches to investing in stocks. Most of the people who are here are technical. They are talking about the story is in the price and the volume. Day trading, charting, market timing, models, momentum. It's more complicated than the very short thing I'm going to say, but I'm on the fundamental side. I'm looking at the value of the stock. I believe that stocks have a price and a value. The value is what it's worth, and the price is what people are willing to pay for it. And when they're willing to, or when they believe that 2 + 2 = 5, they're willing to pay 4 3/4 for it all day long. Anyway, there'll be a lot more technical workshops than the fundamental. But let me also say, I think I'm the only one at those sessions who will be talking about his track record, because I think I'm the only one that will show and publish a track record. Track records aren't that difficult. For us, we hire a third party. We hire Morningstar. You've heard of Morningstar. They deal with a lot of mutual funds and other things beyond. But we hire Morningstar to go to the custodian that we use, Interactive Brokers. They take the data directly from Interactive Brokers for every single account. Then they compute the return for every single account for the quarter, for the year to date, for the last 12 months, and since inception. And they compile all that information account by account, and then all that's compiled into a single value for the quarter. I look at the quarter, for example, mostly about the quarter. Every single account, whether they've been with me for just a little over one quarter or whether they've been with me for 14 and a half years. Even some accounts have been with me for almost 30 years. But those things are compiled. And yes, it does cost money. I do pay a significant amount of money to have that compiled. But that's the validation. It's a third party that does all that information. It's not me. And it's not something that I can say, believe what I say. You should ask the question as you go to these sessions, do you have a track record? And what is your track record? Anyway, my session's coming up. I have a session coming up at 2:45 this afternoon on how will the secular bull market end. I have a session following that called 2019 Predictions, the truth about China. And that's a session that drew a very large crowd in Las Vegas when I presented it. I presented it there for the first time, and it drew 220 people, actually more than that, because there were 200 chairs in the room, and there was standing room only. That was, however, the day that the market went down when Trump announced that he was putting tariffs back on China goods, and the market was down 610 points. So there was a lot of interest in it. I don't imagine that there'll be as much interest, but I would hope so when we come up to the Seattle show coming up later this afternoon. And tomorrow, I'll be doing superior stock returns, minimizing risk. I'll be doing 2 of those sessions tomorrow. The exhibit hall will be open all day tomorrow. It opens very shortly. We're coming up. It will open in a little over 15 minutes. So do come and hear, and do come and meet. Meet me, meet Mitch, meet Sarah. Please come and see us. So we've got a lot of things going on the Money Show. Do come. It's free. Register at the Regency Hyatt. And I want to shift now and do some of the normal radio program things. My guest today is Tia Mack. Welcome to the program, Tia.
It's my pleasure. Happy to be here.
So Tia, why don't we start out with your background? I know that you have several companies, and so we'll get to some of those before we're done. But let's start with your background.
Oh gosh, the background's pretty extensive, but been basically being a consultant, and I was a part of 7 startups, and currently I am helping to launch SAM, Smart Access Mirror Cash, and I have 4 more companies that will be launching back to back as well, from pageants and to CBD products.
So let's talk about the pageant industry.
Sure.
You look at it, it's on TV, you look at Miss America, Miss Universe, some of the others. Everybody looks at what's going on, but nobody really talks about financially, how does it all happen? So today is a day we give insight to people. How does it all work? So, there's an expense that's involved with the pageants.
It's very extensive. There's so many variations of financial sectors that have to be in place for it to even happen.
So, when you look at a pageant like Miss America or Miss Universe or one of those, every state has their own pageant. And maybe most cities do. I haven't been involved in the pageant side.
There's hundreds of thousands of pageants out there, all types from, for little boys and girls to seniors. So there's a plethora of them. However, for international or the most renowned, there's only a handful of them. And if you're in that, the top 10, then you're considered primo pageants. And people will then seek you and want to have sponsorships and so forth.
So how about the people that run, like, for example, the state of Washington or the state of California? How do they get selected, and what's their obligation to do?
Well, for example, when I started the previous pageant and I helped create the Miss Global brand, what we did was we decided to have a international pageant, and we wanted to come up with something a little bit different. So because I was a single mom and I was a divorcee, I wanted to make sure that those women had an opportunity to showcase themselves, because there wasn't really anything out there for them. And the age limit was between 18 to 35, which was pretty much the broadest age range for like a Miss pageant. And so, I have like small little tattoos and a little nose piercing, and under discretion of the organization, then I allowed these girls to either take it out or cover it up. But bottom line is that if you're pre-qualified from a national director, then you don't have to pay a fee into for like, let's just say you're representing Miss USA or like Miss Thailand or Miss Cambodia. So if a national director has a non-licensing fee, which varies,
so
then,
I want to stop. I want to talk about the licensing fee.
Sure.
Because I want to talk about the financial portion of this.
Yeah.
When you say a licensing fee, who pays the licensing fee?
The national directors. So if you are, say, a national director for your state or for your country, you're paying two things. You're paying a licensing fee or a non-licensing fee. So a non-licensing fee is that you get to pretty much advertise and use, let's just say my next pageant is going to be Miss Olympus. So you could use the logo, but then you can't advertise on your own if that makes sense. If you pay a licensing fee, whatever that is that we negotiate, then you can use it at your leisure, throw your own pageants, and send your winner to the international pageant.
So when you say throw your own if you do a non-licensing fee, you don't run your own pageant, is that?
Not necessarily. It depends on what the agreement again is, but usually it's just to be able to pick a model from like your agency or from your talent agency, or off the street if you see somebody striking and basically you say, hey, will you be my contestant to represent India, and I'm just going to send you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's just a fee that somebody pays to enter essentially
to participate.
Contest.
And if you don't have a national director at all, then you just pay the basic fee. So it can range anywhere from like $1,500 to like, I don't know, $5,000.
So that's for a contestant.
Correct.
And then if you want to run your pageant, there's an additional fee that people pay.
Yes, and that's why with the licensing fee, then you're pretty much, I'm giving you the opportunity to actually run your own pageant and make your own money, so then you can have the ability to make however much money you want to make.
Okay, we're coming to a commercial break. We're going to return to this. This is something that I had no idea, and I'm sure that most people that are watching pageants on TV have no idea how the financial system works. We're going to come back to this right after this commercial break. Don't go away. And do come to the Money Show. I mean, there's so much going on and so much information to see and so much to gain. Besides, you get to hear what I have to say. The Money Show. We're at the Hyatt Regency.
More about money coming up with Mike Adams on AM 1590, The Answer. For more information, click on adamsfinancialconcepts.com. About Money continues. Remember the website, adamsfinancialconcepts.com. Here's Mike.
Okay, so I'm here with Tiamat. We're talking about beauty pageants. I've never, ever thought about the financials of the beauty pageant. Maybe that's because you just sit there and ogle the people that are involved in it. Never thinking about who's paying what and who the sponsors are. And you see it on TV, so you know that the TV the TV show is being paid for by sponsors, but the whole pageant and putting it on. So Tia, tell us more. A licensing fee. Tell us what a person would get for a licensing fee.
So you would get your own logo that would say Miss Olympus Cambodia, Miss Olympus Thailand. So you would also have your own website, and you can start recruiting your own girls, and you basically have the foundation laid out for you for your own, to run your own pageant.
So now, as I understand what you're saying, I pay a licensing fee. And if I'm in Thailand, I pay a licensing fee and I have the rights to all of Thailand.
Correct.
And then if I recruit 100 girls to participate.
Yeah, you can create,
Each of them pays a fee up to $1,500 or $5,000?
For the contestants, you mean?
Yeah.
That's up to the national director.
Okay, so
Like,
I'm charging them a fee
Correct.
to enter.
Right.
Plus they have, they must furnish all their own clothes and all that stuff.
You get sponsors. I mean, this is why it's the opportunity. The opportunity is literally limitless. So in pageants, you can make nothing, or you can make $300 million. It's entirely up to your mindset of how business savvy you are and the collaboration that you have with people. So for me, I think that because I'm such a networker and I know a lot of people, that I'm able to bring people on board just with several of my, not just pageants, but several businesses.
So I want to take it back to the basic level. So the girls pay a fee, or they find a sponsor to pay a fee.
Correct.
And then,
Or their national director pays the fee.
Yeah. And then you have sponsors, maybe clothing companies to furnish the clothes.
Clothing, makeup, hair, it could be skincare, cosmetics. Again, it's limitless. You can engage with pretty much anybody that's willing to pay a fee or have some sort of sponsorship with you. So like an exchange in kind. So let's just say you want to be a sponsor for my next pageant, Miss Olympus. Then we can either exchange our resources, and I promote you, you promote me, and it could be complimentary. Or I just say, you know what, Mike, if you want to partner with me, I want you to pay $50,000 for the next year, and then we can work out the details of what that entails, for the $50,000 or $50,000. Now, let's just, like previously, we've had people pay host country fees. So you get a country, for example, like let's just say Thailand. That's probably where I'm going to be launching my next pageant. And so I'm going to have to go to the government, to the ministries, and have a conversation with them in private, going through each ministry separately, correct? And see who wants to come on board. Normally with pageants, it's generally tourism, the sector that will want to engage. But what I'm trying to do now is involve all of them. So, environment, Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Culture, Ministry of Fine Arts, and so forth. And every country don't necessarily have all those branches of ministry, but however many there are, that's who you can partner with. And again, it could be complementary, depending on what it is that they want from you. So whether you're campaigning for the Ministry of Environment for beach cleanup or picking up trash, or, again, it's limitless to with being able to collaborate with people. So that's why I think that pageants are really a great platform, and people don't realize like how unique and special it is. It's not about just pretty women strutting their body on stage. The way that I used to judge the previous pageant is that 50% of your score was actually what you did and judged by the staff and everyone that you've interacted with. 50% was judged prior to you going out on stage the day of, and combined with the 50% on stage, that's like how we chose our winners. And I know that's not what other pageants do, but that's what I decided to do.
So in doing that, and getting the ministries involved, do the ministries then do some of the financing as well?
Correct. Yes. So it could be the government, it could be the ministry, or it could be an individual, someone who just loves pageants or loves the platform that we stand for. So Miss Olympus is going to be about, health, wellness, fitness, and fashion. So we're going to promote sports. So I'm a huge sports fan, as you already know, and been to so many sports games, and I wanted to incorporate that into Miss Olympics because no one else really, Miss Olympus is going to be unique and kind of one of its kind, where everyone else is more about education or, just straight modeling and acting contracts. I want to be able to partner up with like Microsoft and a bunch of CEOs around the world. And I've even helped girls to start their own businesses or help them with leadership skills as their mentor in previous years. And so I want to do it on a more grandiose platform with my next pageant. And so I'm super excited about the opportunities because, again, it's limitless. It's whatever kind of, if you can think it, I'm thinking like Walt Disney, but right now he's been on my brain a lot. No one believed in him and the vision that he had for, Mickey Mouse. And I always kind of go back to, okay, what would Walt do? Right. And so for me, it's like, okay, whatever I think is unique and different in pageants, that's what I want to do. So, great. The international like the international costumes are grandioso and stuff. But since like Miss Universe does it and it's, on a big scale, people spend thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours to put these crazy costumes together, which is fantastic. But I think that for me, like having Flag Day and having all the girls for the 2-3 week period wear color-coded clothes, and I focus more on not just the winner, but the first runner-up through the fourth runner-up, and I wanted them to, become like a sisterhood. And so I'm taking everything that I've already created in a previous pageant, and I'm taking, and then I'm also adding on to that and expanding it further, right, to give these girls opportunities that took me 30-something years to build, and I'm just going to hand it over to them because I have my hands in every business that you can literally think of, from tech to CBD to pageants. I mean, there's just a huge variety, and these women will be in good hands and be able to have a lot of fun while they're, a part of the pageant.
So you mentioned a number of times Miss Olympus, but what about, you also had mentioned Miss Americana.
Correct. Miss Americana is going to be primarily about health and wellness and CBD products. So from head to toe, right now my team is trying to put together a all-natural brand, which is going to be called MacCana. And then for the makeup line, we want to have like anti-aging, anti-inflammatory, and we want to put in different ingredients that we want to patent. And so everyone's kind of searching, shopping, and trying to find what is the best in the industry. And I've also been expanding our CBD fields into other markets as well. So not just in the United States, but in other countries. So so not only will I be a part of the hemp world and, CBD and all natural beauty products from head to toe, but it's also a business within a business. And I want to help people to just be healthy, have all natural products that's approved by me. It's been TFI'd, right? And so what I really am focused on is having the best of everything available, not only to me, but for the rest of the world.
That's great. So
thank you.
Thanks for being on. It's very
pleasure.
fascinating. I'd never realized much about pageants and what goes on in the finances. So I find it very, very fascinating. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
So we're coming to a commercial break. Don't go away, because I'm going to come back and talk about jobs, of all things, jobs. You hear so much going on about jobs. We're coming back to talk about that very shortly. President Trump claims that he's created the most jobs with his administration. And on the other side of the story, you have the Democrats changing that Democrats have lost control over their lives, that workers are underpaid, workers are being exploited by unscrupulous bosses. Workers face a precarious future as machines threaten to make them unemployable. It's a dreary, dreary picture. The fact is, it's not true. So we're going to come back and talk about why it's not true and what's going on in jobs across the world. Don't go away. And think about the Money Show, because the exhibit hall is almost to open. Be right back after the commercial break.
More about money coming up with Mike Adams on AM 1590, The Answer. For more information, click on adamsfinancialconcepts.com. About Money continues. Remember the website, adamsfinancialconcepts.com. Here's Mike.
So just before commercial break, I started talking about jobs. When you listen to the rhetoric that's going on, you get either a very rosy picture or a very bleak picture. You get a picture that, as The Economist magazine pointed out about this whole thing, the Democrats are claiming that workers have lost control over their lives, that they're underpaid, they haven't kept up with inflation, their wages have been stagnant for decades, that they're being exploited, that they face a precarious future because machines are going to take away all the jobs. And at the same time, you have a Republican administration that is taking credit for the job boom that's going on. Neither of those, as The Economist magazine points out, are true. It's not reality. We're in a job boom that we have never seen before. And it's not just in the United States. And it's not just been in the Trump administration. We're seeing a job boom that has grown over the last 10 years or so, through this decade of the 2010s. And not only are there more jobs, they're better jobs, and it's due to capitalization. We hear the term about socialism thrown around. The jobs are being created in the capitalist countries, in the rich world. U.S. unemployment reached 3.6%. That's the best it's been in half a century. And remember, when Obama administration took over, the unemployment rate was 10%. Now we're at 3.6%. That's considered below full employment. But if you look beyond the U.S., 2/3 of the countries of the OECD, that's the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, 2/3 of the countries, and there's 36 countries, they have record high employment for people that are aged 15 to 64 years old. Japan, their employment rate, not unemployment, but employment rate is 77%. It's up 6% in 6 years. Britain and Germany, France, Spain, and Italy have seen huge increases, all of those above 2005 levels. And do you know where the real growth is coming? most of the growth is happening with women coming into the workforce. That's been true since 2007. And as they come in, wages are increasing. You hear about this whole thing that wages have been stagnant, but the data show a different picture, the real data. While the talking heads talk about wages are stagnant, the fact is that the job wages are increasing. And it's true. Middle skill jobs are harder to find. By the estimate, by 2026, according to The Economist magazine, there'll be more people employed in home care than in secretarial work. But while middle skill jobs are harder to find, high skill jobs are being created at a faster rate than any other, even more so than the menial jobs. Low-end jobs are actually paying better because of minimum wages, not just here in the state of Washington, not in the other states that pass minimum wages, but in other countries that are pushing minimum wages. You know, part of the issue may be, as The Economist magazine pointed out, that finding a stable, well-paid job in academia or in journalism is difficult. Getting a job as a university professor or as a reporter is difficult these days. And that may explain some of the doom and gloom we hear about. And while those jobs are difficult to find, most highly skilled jobs are not. If you look at Seattle, in the IT space, there are over 30,000 openings that haven't been filled. And while there's those jobs, nationwide, worldwide, temporary jobs are going away. People are moving out of temporary jobs into full-time jobs. And when you look at wages expressed as a share of national income, wages are rising in most countries, even in the U.S. Wages are increasing faster than GDP in most countries. Think about it. I've been talking since 2011 about the super cycle where GDP is growing faster than average, significantly faster than average in the world. Think about it. Wages are growing faster than GDP in most countries. And while in the U.S. it may be more slowly than expected due to the 3.6% unemployment, one of the issues is productivity. Productivity has not been keeping up. So that all brings me back to thinking about 2010 and 11 and 12 and 13. Remember when unemployment was 10%? People were saying the hardcore unemployment number was going to be 7%, that after 6 months, the skills somebody had on a job were essentially degrading and going down. And after a couple of years, those skills were lost. And so it was hard to imagine in 2010 or 2011, 2012, according to many economists, it was going to be hard to imagine that unemployment rate would ever drop below 7%. In fact, there were articles that came out, numerous articles that came out and said 7% is going to be full employment. If we get to 7%, it's going to be full employment. Think about it today. We're at 3.6. It just isn't so. We've seen this, and we're seeing it more, not just in the U.S., but throughout the world. You know, there's structural changes that are going on in the job market. The first, we're seeing a change in demographics. In the 1980s, 25% of the world's population aged 25 to 20 I'll try to get this right. 1980, people aged 15 to 24 comprised 25% of the world's population. Today, that's shrunk to 17%. Populations have gotten older. And generally, the highest unemployment is in the young people. Secondly, technology, there's better matching. The cost of filling a vacancy is dropped 80% between the years 2006 and 16. Job searches on the internet are being matched much faster. The third thing is the changes in policies. With the increasing amount of daycare, with higher education, if you look at the OECD countries, 36 of the richest countries, those people with college educations has increased from 22% to 40% in the last 19 years. Also, the reduced power of trade unions and collective bargaining in most countries has also contributed to an increase in wages and bonuses. It's been a growth primarily in the service sector. It's been a growth primarily with women entering the workforce. But all of that adds up to be a positive for the economy. Don't listen to what's being said. Look at the numbers. The numbers tell a very different story than what the talking heads are saying. It's a numbers thing. Look at the numbers, not what we're being told. Anyway, that wraps it up. Come down to the Money Show. We're open until 7 o'clock tonight. Reception, 7 o'clock tonight. Come down, see us. It should be fun. We're at the Hyatt Regency. The exhibit hall is open. Be back next Saturday to tell you how the Money Show was.
Listening to About Money with Mike Adams, a registered investment advisor. If you'd like more information about what you heard today, or about Mike's investment philosophy and strategy, or if you'd like Mike to evaluate your own portfolio, click on adamsfinancialconcepts.com. That's adamsfinancialconcepts.com. The information shared in the preceding program was for educational purposes only, and any investment advice given may not be suitable for all investors. Join us again next Saturday at noon for more About Money with Mike Adams, here on AM 1590. The Answer. The preceding program was sponsored by Adams Financial Concepts.